Hey creatives, and welcome back to the Thriving Artist, the show where we discuss how creatives create flourishing careers. I'm super excited to delve into the topic that we're going into because I just don't think it's something everybody talks about openly. And some people think it's just crazy. So I'm excited. And I'm really excited to introduce our guest. Her name is Jennifer Bloome, and she is a soul abundance guide, energy healer, and Master Soul Language Practitioner. She teaches people how to co-create a flow of soul-based abundance that is in alignment with their gifts, talents, and true nature. Building from the paradigm of a soul language, she has developed money languages, a communication tool that translates the wisdom that you hold inside in relation to creating money and prosperity. And as starving artists, we all know we got to figure out where that flow is coming from. So I am so excited to welcome Jennifer.
Hello, I'm really glad to be here. And it's funny because this can seem sort of like a woo-woo topic. It can feel like it's kind of out there. But it's been such a transition for me to go from somebody who's really, science, let's make the money the way we need to make money, to a more soul-based approach. And it's really helpful, I think, in a very creative, artistic field. So I'm delighted to get to have a chance to have a conversation with you today about it.
Yay! I'm so excited too. So why don't we delve into because there's a lot of stigma around artists being okay with accepting money and feeling like, it should just be about the art. We don't need to make a lot of money. And just delving into that conversation of how money can block creativity and creativity block money.
It's really a catch-22, right? Because we want to be, as the artist, right? I want to be pure. I want to just be with my art, and I'll make money when it comes. But then our mind is a little sneaky too, because then we look and we see, well, how's it being received and what am I getting back from it? And if I'm not getting what I want or what I can't live on, then does that have some sort of, does it say something about the art that I'm creating, right? So it's just sort of this catch-22 where I don't want it, but I do, and then I have this judgment about what I'm creating, or maybe I should do it a little bit differently based on the money. And that does not bode well for the flow of creativity, right? It doesn't bode well for that flow of inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so also, money can block that creativity flow, because when we don't have enough money to pay the bills, or you're working 3 jobs because you need to pay the bills, then you kind of get in the cycle of fear. And again, that does not help that flow of creativity. So it can really be tricky it can be really tricky, including that word is tricky, tricky topic to wade through as an artist.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I love how you touched upon the necessity of money. Oh my gosh, we're all just tripping on words today.
English, it's hard,
We all get it. Money is Wow, it's necessary. We need
necessary,
it.
right?
We need it. But at the same time, we also need our souls to feel fulfilled.
Yeah, and I think what happens, I think we get stuck in either or. It's like either I can be creative or I can be financially successful. But the thing is that money, from my perspective, money and creativity are of the same source. And that's where we get to bring our souls into the picture, right? That's where we get to start to say, all right, well, it doesn't have to be an either or. And what I mean by coming from the same source is money is simply an energetic, it's part of the divine, right? It is one part of source, energy, God, goddess, whatever, nature, whatever you call that which is bigger than us. And it's made up of the same thing as other parts of the divine. I also believe, right, our creativity, our inspiration, that need to create comes from that part of us, our soul, that which is bigger than us. And so that's really the key to start getting out of the loop, to realize, wait a minute, these are the same energies. I'm actually using something similar. It's just outputting in a different way. My art comes out through music or design or whatever, and it can also output as money. So that way we get to stop the whole, do I get to be true to who I am, or do I make money? I can do both. I can feed my soul, and I can create a flow of money that's going to support me in a way that's going to allow me to be nourished and to allow me to be in a position where I can continue to create.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And if people are struggling with like a scarcity mindset, what tweaks and like what different shifts and perspectives can they start implementing so that they're looking at things in a more abundant way? Because they could say, oh yeah, that's just wishful thinking. What do you mean we can have it all?
I have been on both ends of the spectrum. Over the course of a 7-year period, I went from meeting with my financial advisor who said, wow, if you keep doing exactly what you're doing, you're going to retire with all the goals you've ever wanted, to going through a bankruptcy. So I've been in that space of like, okay, bankruptcy, there's literally no money left. That bankruptcy was actually the best thing that ever happened to me, because I realized I was trying to figure out, I was trying to define my worth by my bank account. And I was at odds with it because I am a creative. I create through meditations. I create through this connection that I have with energy, right? But I was trying to prove my worthiness through that bank account, and it never felt enough. And so that the bankruptcy was this initial showing to me of like, hello, it's the universe knocking on the door saying, no, this isn't how it goes. So if you can start to understand, hey, this is just a pattern, right? This is just a habit of thought. And yeah, the bills that are past due, yep, those are pretty real. But at the same time, it's just evidence of this disconnection between you and knowing that enoughness. So that's a really great place to start. And then next is to notice where the abundance is around you, right? To begin to see that abundance and prosperity includes money, but it also includes so many other things, whether it's going outside and seeing all the different colors that are around you, all the different trees and shrubs and bushes and grass, or even inside, what have you got? You've got all the items that are here with you, right? There's an abundance there. And it can feel a little bit like mental gymnastics, like, oh, really? But that's not, that's not money in my bank account, but it's the first step. It's the first way of stepping into something that you can begin to be part of the abundance of what's around you. We need to allow ourselves to build momentum towards what we want. It would be really nice for that suitcase to end up on the front step with, tens of thousands of dollars in it, and you wouldn't have to worry anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But when you allow yourself to build some momentum and start to understand, hey, I am part of this bigger universe. I am part of the abundance, and I can have whatever I want out of that. It can sound pie in the sky, but when you start to ground it with some tools, that's when you're able to really make some shifts and changes.
Mm-hmm. To me, it sounds a lot like the law of attraction, where it's like whatever you focus on, that will come. But there's an element that you stressed on, like when we were talking about this idea on the phone, that you were like, well, there's law of attraction, and there's like just hoping it's going to happen. And then there's having the mindset that abundance is around you and putting in the work.
The funniest thing that I hear people say, and I know I said it when I first started working with the concept of law of attraction, is, well, I want to use the law of attraction. Well, we're always using the law of attraction because it's just like gravity. It's a law. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you can regularly allow yourself into the mindset of, I can be an artist and be abundant, when you can regularly get into the I'm creating out of my I'm creating out of my unique strand of the divine, and I can be abundant, right? When you allow that to be most present, that's when things really start to shift and change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And for some, there's like this internal dialogue that goes on, that they're like, well, isn't the creation, isn't the art more important than money anyways?
When we say things like the creation is more important than the money, we're this is kind of a hard word, but it's almost like we're shunning money. Money is something that we have a relationship with. You can think of it as having a relationship with your best friend. Not that money has to be your best friend, but if you had if you had somebody in your life and you said, well, I'm sorry, but Joe over here is more important than you, Frank, right? Frank's not going to hang around. And so money as an energy doesn't have any free will. It responds to what we say about it. So when we treat that relationship with money as we would a best friend, that's when it's going to respond to us in a deeper way. And we don't, the beauty about believing that and knowing that is that it frees us to be in the creation, because then we don't have to worry about money anymore. It's not, again, it's not the either or. It's not either the creation or the money. It's, I understand that I'm going to be supported and provided for, so I get to be in that space of creation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So what about like the folks who are like, okay, this is starting to make sense. I'm starting to see that this is all um, interconnected, and they're supposed to play together. Um, but how the heck do I get these things in alignment? How do I be able to have my creative flow, making my soul feel fulfilled, and then my cash flow, keeping my bank account full?
Right, right. So there are both internal steps and external steps to take. Internal meaning, right, that getting to know my soul, and then there's external steps to take from there. So let's talk about the internal part first.
Mm-hmm.
So the paradigm that I love to work with in this area is called soul language. And soul language is a paradigm that says that when we come into our life on this planet, we choose between 107 different languages that can be, and those three then become the languages of our soul, the languages that we speak. And when we know those languages, when we understand at a deeper level who we truly are, then we begin to understand how that we can apply that to creation. So let me give you an example, because
Yeah, that was
that's
a
kind of,
lot.
that was a lot, right? So for example, one of the languages that we speak is a mission language. For me personally, my soul mission language is pioneer. It means I like to pave new roads. I help both myself and other people to what they want through these new roads. In terms of money, what that means to me is twofold. One is I have to be doing new things. When I don't do new things, when I sort of keep very tunnel vision and I'm working on the same old projects, money does not flow for me.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, if I get involved in way too many things, money also doesn't flow, right? I'm spread way too thin. But that's the personality of my soul. So now I know, right, how I can be more in alignment with myself. I can trust myself more. The other half of that paradigm is we bring with us an advisory board of languages that help us understand how our soul prefers to work with money. Those are the money languages, the sacred partnership languages of money. And those pieces, those languages we get to connect with and hear and listen to and receive advice from
Mm-hmm.
on our path to creating. So it's about being able to have a tool and a system that allows you to hear directly from your soul about how it likes to create money. And when I started introducing this paradigm into my day-to-day life, the changes were phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of my money languages is called troubadour. Troubadour is all about speaking what you want into being. Right? When you think about law of attraction, it is really important to speak what you want, but this part of my soul is really showing me the power, the creative power of language. And it's probably not a surprise that I do a lot of guided meditations, right? That's one of the ways that I create. But when I'm able to check in with my soul team, as I call them, that gives me direction both internally, how to change my internal mindset, and then externally, what are the steps that I want to take? Do I want to reach out? Who do I want to contact? Those kinds of things. There's a lot of wisdom that we carry within us that we can access.
Mm-hmm. And how can people start to unlock that wisdom that they have in them?
So part of it is accepting that that wisdom is there. Right? I think that a lot of times we go, am I hearing my wisdom or am I just in my head? Right? It's a little bit hard to discern. And so part of that is trusting that it's there and then connecting with that wisdom in a way that feels good to you. You know, I explained the paradigm that I work with, but it's also about being comfortable with whatever paradigm that you're going to use. Do you get information? You know, we all get information in different ways. I get a knowing, and sometimes I will see images or hear things. But it's just sort of getting comfortable with how you receive information, and then trusting it and acting on it. Because when we start to act on that wisdom and we learn, oh, hey, that was really great, right? And it's very interesting. I can give you a tangible example.
Mm-hmm.
I just a couple of weeks ago had an intention. I heard from my team, hey, you need to get out and start talking more.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't 2 days before you reached out to me with a request to say, hey, I'm doing this. Is this something that can we have a conversation to see if it's a good fit for us, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, you have to, it's that trusting and acting on it. And when you act on it and you get results, the trust gets deeper.
And then it just builds strong. Like it's like a skill, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
And it just gets, the more you work on it, the better it gets.
Right. It's just like singing scales. It gets easier and easier and easier. I have been learning and connecting for 17, 18, 19 years now, right? So it comes a little bit more easily to me because this is where I've lived in here.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So for some people that have those blockages, um, is there any tools or resources that they could look into, if they're really interested in taking those away so that they can really live in abundance and prosperity?
Yeah. One of the things that I would suggest, one of the things that I offer is a 2-part video series. It's called Soul Language, Money Languages in Action. I'll get the title right, Money Languages in Action. And what this does is it's a real introduction to what soul abundance is all about, and a little deeper introduction to the soul languages. It'll kind of give an understanding of, is this something that's for me? But there's so many tools. There are other tools that, one of my favorites is EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. It's a technique that allows you to really release deeply held beliefs, and get them up and out of your body so that you can have room to add new tools in, new beliefs in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There are so many resources that are available. And again, it's that first connecting and saying, yes, I'm ready for something new.
I'm actually interested, maybe if you don't mind, can we explore some of the languages that you're talking about? I know you did give a couple examples, but yeah, maybe like 3 or 4 of them or something.
Well, sure. So, okay. So, so we bring 3 languages to our personal souls. There's a mission language that's called our axiom of quest. The second language is an axiom of translation. That's your skills and your mission, and it's how you're known here on the planet. And then the third language type is called your tone. This is your soulful personality. So I started out by telling you about myself. So let me just complete the picture for you.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So that first language, pioneer, that's a mission language. My axiom of translation is called huntress hunter. This is all about, it's a warrior language. I don't know if, so people who know me understand that I go after things, I
Mm.
track them, and I know how to receive. That's what Huntress is all about. You know, you could think about being out, maybe it's a terrible example, but sort of the way I envision her is sort of being out on the plains of Africa, right? Being able to, I've got my lions, and I'm out, and I'm able to find what I want, and I can bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
So tone, again, that's what the third category is soulful personality. So for me, my soulful personality is capitalist. And when I heard that word, I'm like, capitalist? I'm not a I don't want, again,
Yeah.
this whole, push-pull with money. But what
Mm.
capitalist is all about is about knowing that we all carry our own inner capital. We carry our own gifts, and
Mm-hmm.
that we can create out of that. So a capitalist is all about creating something from something else. When I first started in my career, I was working with women who were having trouble having babies. And so that capitalist energy was all about helping connect internally so you can take that soul information and turn it into a baby. On the
Mm.
money side, it's the same that same translation. There are other languages. There's observer. Observers, again, this is a mission language. Observers are able to see patterns. They're very much able to connect in with the divine Akashic records, if that's a word that you're familiar with, and really be able to understand the patterns that are happening around them. I mentioned troubadour, right? That the power of the voice. There's heartfelt artist. That's actually another one of my money languages. It's all about connecting to the heart and creating through there.
Mm.
So and what's really beautiful about these languages is they're not static. They are literally a part of our soul that we get to have conversations with. I
Mm.
will open up and have a conversation with my pioneer, right? Or I'll open up and I'll have a conversation with Huntress to say, okay, what do I want? I want to be able to be out and speaking. What's my internal step and what's my external step? Well, the internal step is to trust. Is to trust that I have something to say that somebody wants to hear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the external step is to put myself out there, put it out as the website, put it out as a newsletter, put it out into social media, right? So that's what those languages are helping with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, any other questions about? Did I give enough examples for you?
Yeah, that was
Get a
great.
flavor?
Now I'm like fascinated to find out like what mine is.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you have like a test, or how do people find out?
That's a really good question. So the way that this works is, as a practitioner, you always do it with permission. People ask me all the time, can you give me the languages of so and so? And I'm like, no, I have to have permission to do that. But what we do is, once I have permission, I make a one-time connection with your soul, and then I muscle test to determine what your languages are. So I will ask, it's numbered, 1 through 107. I get a yes, no as to whether that language is yours or not. So your soul is literally giving me the information. If people are curious about that, I do offer a free 15-minute session. I identify one of your languages, and you get a little bit of information, and you learn how to start to use it to see if it's something that feels practical to you.
I'm so fascinated. I'm so curious. I just want to know.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a junkie. If somebody has a method, I always want to know. But
Yeah.
it's so helpful to have that deeper connection with yourself, because the more you connect with who you are, the easier it is to express it through whatever your particular method of expression
Yeah.
is.
And
It's
for
just
artists, that's so important.
it is, and and it's just one way to build a really solid foundation. And then once you've got that foundation, and you get to keep tuning into it, but then you do all the practical things, right? It informs your brand, it informs your financial planning, it informs your website,
Mhm.
right? It doesn't have to be an either or. You don't have to take the spiritual approach or the realistic approach. There's such a blend, and when you do that, that's when it's what I talk about is soul-based abundance. You are building that abundance out of your soul. Now that's in alignment with your gifts and your talents and your belief, and you say, yeah, bring it on, I want it. Right?
Yeah.
Then it feels really good to bring the money in instead of going, ew, money's icky.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And now you're gonna literally have it all.
Exactly. In whatever, and it doesn't matter. It's not saying that you have to be a gazillionaire. You get to make it at whatever level that feels good to you, and you get to make that decision, right? Which is something that also feels good to me, because there's a lot of things out there that says, well, you're not a success until you've reached X mark, and if you choose that mark, perfect. But this is truly authentic for you and what you want to create.
Yeah. So it's like really fine-tuning your understanding of yourself, your authenticity, self-awareness, and then also being so clear on how you define success for yourself, and then living your truth that way.
Exactly. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. We try to make it a little more complicated than that, but it really, and sometimes, when the bills are piling up, it can feel complicated, but it's just, if you just start building momentum towards that, and it comes, it really does.
I love it. I love it. I feel like we could go on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
But we really can't.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm excited that you did put together that 2-part video series where people can learn about money languages. And if they are interested, I have the links down below. You guys can go and check it out and learn how you can remove those roadblocks, emotional roadblocks, mental roadblocks that is holding you back from an abundance of money coming your way, right? And yeah, so
yeah.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for your time. I really enjoyed it. I really wish we could keep going.
Well, I really appreciate the invitation to come and speak, and I'm super approachable. If anybody has questions, please I'm more than happy to answer emails, any kind of questions. So again, I'm just delighted to have had a chance to talk in this space with you. I really appreciate it.
I love it. I'll have your website down there too if anybody wants to reach out so they can
Wonderful.
make that connection.
Wonderful.
So just to wrap it up, one takeaway that you want to leave the viewers with?
What I would say is that if you have the will to create it, it's meant to be. And your soul is supporting it, and to trust that and to let that lead the way.
Well, thank you so much once again, Jennifer. And thank you so much to everybody that's tuning in. This is The Thriving Artist, the show where we discuss how creatives create flourishing careers. As always, stay inspired, stay motivated, and stay on your grind, because the world needs that special something that only you have. This is the end of this interview. We're out of here. Keep creating. Bye.
Bye.